Hi, my name is Trini and today I'm going to be doing the exploding soda experiment. When we do an experiment, we have to follow the scientific method. The first step is finding the question. The question to my experiment is if the brand of soda will affect the height in the explosion. Next, we have to form a hypothesis. A hypothesis is what you think will happen during the experiment. My hypothesis is that if we use different brands of soda, then the height will differ because the brands are made of different carbonations. Then we identify the variables. There's 3 different types of variables. The independent variable stands alone. In this case, it is the brand of soda. Next, we have a dependent variable. The dependent variable depends on the other aspects of the experiment. This is the height of the explosion. Lastly, we have the controlled variable. This is a thing that stays the same throughout the entire experiment. In this case, it will be the amount of Mentos. Let's get on with the experiment. For my experiment, I have a diet root beer, a funnel, a pack of Mentos, and a tape measure. So now I'm going to be using my diet root beer and putting 7 Mentos with my funnel. Now we're going to explode it. So now I did the same thing with this Diet Canada Dry. We put 7 Mentos in the funnel. So my averages for the Diet Root Beer height was 24.2 feet, and for the Diet Canada Dry height, it was 24.4 feet. So in conclusion, when we put the Mentos in different soda brands, my hypothesis was right to an extent. The heights were different, but it was a very minimal difference, which in turn kind of shows that the brands doesn't affect too much, but there's also other factors that could have affected it.
Hi, my name is Isabella, and I'll be doing the exploding soda experiment. The first step in an experiment is to ask the question. My question is, will a brand of soda affect the height of the explosion? Now we have to form a hypothesis. My hypothesis is if we use different brands of sodas, then the heights will differ because they are all composed of different ingredients. Our 3 variables are independent, dependent, and controlled. Our independent would be the brand of soda used, the dependent would be the height of the explosion, and the controlled is the amount of Mentos put in each soda. Here I have my diet root beer, a funnel with a pack of Mentos, and my tape measure. Right now I'm screwing the funnel on to my bottle. Right now I'm loading 7 Mentos into our funnel. Now I'm going to screw the top on, and when ready, pull the lever for the Mentos to drop into the soda. Alright, now I'm going to pull the thing. My Mentos into my Diet Canada Dry. And just a reminder, again, the bottle is the independent variable and the amount of Mentos is the controlled. So we ended up measuring the height of the tree and comparing the explosion height to the height of the tree since it was way taller than me. So now you can see the amount of soda exploded compared to what's left. The right is the Canada Dry and the left is the root beer. Okay, so as you saw on my table, my Diet Root Beer averaged 26 feet and my Diet Canada Dry averaged 24.2. So in conclusion, my hypothesis was to a point right because I did say that they would differ depending on the brand. There wasn't a huge difference, but there definitely was a difference. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Cayla Mortman. Today we're doing the exploding soda experiment. First, you have to form a question, and my question is, will the different soda brands affect the height of the explosion? This is a form of hypothesis, which is an if-then because statement. Mine is, if we use different soda brands, then the heights will stay the same because all sodas are the same. The next step is to identify the 3 variables, which is independent, dependent, and controlled. Our independent is the soda because it changes each time. Our dependent is the height because that depends on what the soda we're using. And our controlled is the Mentos, how many we use, because that stays the same for all of them. Just inserted our 7 Mentos, which just a reminder is our controlled variable. The 7 Mentos are staying the same for each experiment. and I put them on top of our independent variable, which is the thing that's been changing, the root beer and the ginger ale. And our dependent variable is how high the soda is going to go. So I've done the same by putting 7 Mentos into my Diet Canada Dry Ginger Ale. In conclusion, my Diet Root Beer's height average was 24.1 and my Diet Canada Dry's average was 24.3, which means my hypothesis was correct to an extent, because during the 3 trials that I did, they did have different heights, but when I averaged them all together, they were super similar.
Okay, so now we're going to be discussing our results from our 3 trials. So for mine, the Diet Root Beer, out of the average, it was 26 feet, and for the Diet Canada Dry was 24.2 feet. So I think they could have differed a little because who knows, one could have gotten a little more shaken up in the car or because they were sitting outside as we did it. There's always small things, but there wasn't a huge difference to where I think the brand affected it more than like just kind of the environment they were in. So
my averages were 24.2 feet for the Diet Root Beer and 24.4 feet for the Diet Canada Dry. Mine were actually really close, and likewise to what Isabella said, this shows that the brand did not affect the height of the explosion when we put the Mentos in.
My average for the root beer was 24.1, and for the Diet Canada Dry was 24.3, which shows that my hypothesis was mainly right, because I thought that that the sodas weren't going to affect the height. That's why it's really important to get together with people who've also done the experiment, just to make sure that your results are accurate.
So regarding like Trini and I's hypothesis, I think we were expecting more of like a drastic difference in between brands, and like mine was 26 and 24.2. So like to an extent, like they were different, but at the same time they were so close that like it basically like could have been the same.
So like, it's important to compare, just to, you know, find out if your hypothesis is right or wrong.
And always take into account like the little things that could have changed it. So there's always like different ways we could improve the project. I think that's definitely important too. Yeah.
Also, it was really good that we did 3 different trials for each of us, so we got a lot of data that we can compare with each other to make sure that our results are super accurate and to make sure we know which hypothesis was correct.
It was definitely like a good teaching experience for like the 5th graders, more on like scientific method.
Yes.
Like, of course, it taught us something too, and it gave us like an experiment to do, but it's also like important. It was like good to help them understand.
Yes,
something like simple but fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.